everyone, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll be breaking down all of the day's movie news and going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. And the first topic we have to talk about today is a brand new trailer has been released for Ridley Scott's upcoming epic, Exodus: Gods and Kings. Now, to the layman, this may appear as though it is kind of a remake of the Ten Commandments, which at the end of the day, it's the same central story. This one, however, is mainly going to focus on their relationship, the relationship between Moses and Ramses, and that's the story that Ridley Scott has really wanted to tell. It is still going to deal with the tribulations of Moses trying to free the slaves and marching the hundreds of thousands of slaves across the desert, and then obviously the parting of the Red Sea, which we do see at the end of the trailer. We do see the water tide coming in. We see bits of the hail, the river of blood. So we do see that they are going to be tackling these sections. But the core element of the story is going to be this fight between these two brothers, these two guys who grew up together, who were, it's almost, the way that I feel about it is it's going to be more of a serious take on the relationship between Thor and Loki. That's the kind of back and forth type of relationship that we are going to get. Very heavy resentment between these two men because they both have very different ideals. Yet at the same time, there is going to be that familiarity between them. There's going to be the fact that they did grow up. And I do feel that there is going to be that main conflict at the center of this film, outside of all the spectacle and stuff like that. And can we just take a second and talk about how Ridley Scott, I don't know how he does it, but he is able to put a camera in front of actors and make it look epic, make it look massive. Like just the one shot, out of all the shots in the trailer, the one shot that got me was of Joel Edgerton, who plays Ramses, and Christian Bale, who plays Moses, walking down the steps side by side on either side of the central column. And just the way that they were walking, the physical set that was behind them, obviously enhanced with CGI, but just the scope and the production value and everything, the movie just looks massive. It just looks big. And I don't know how he does it. Every time he puts a camera in front of actors in this type of a film, it just goes, I can't even express it. He's got a unique way of being able to do that. And I have to commend him because this is where he really feels comfortable. This is, I mean, I have shunned the Counselor, the one that he just did. Like, I couldn't even remember the title of it. It's just, that movie was just bad. And it was surprising because Cormac McCarthy wrote it. Like, he wrote the script, the guy who wrote the books that a lot of these movies have been based off of, like No Country for Old Men and stuff like that. Like, the man who wrote that story, the original story, wrote the script for that film, and it just really surprised me how bad it could have been, especially with the cast. But no, it looks as though he's back in full form, and actually, it looks as though he's going to be producing, after this, he's going to be producing a new version of David versus Goliath, or at least a new version of that tale. So he's really kind of keen on getting back into this epic. I think he knows that that's where he's successful, that's where he really likes it. And Ridley Scott actually had a quote about a week and a half ago when those first photos came out. And he said that he had not had as much fun making a movie like this in a long time, or making a movie in a long time, as he did with this one. And you could really tell, especially even with a movie like Prometheus. As much as I'm one of the defenders of Prometheus, I actually do like it, but I do understand the problems that are with it. You could tell that he was starting to get bored. He was getting stale. He was doing it just for the sake of doing it. And I think that was wholeheartedly what it was with The Counselor. I think he just wanted to work with Cormac McCarthy, and he got a really good eclectic cast together. But at the end of the day, that movie just bombed hardcore. Now, there's one topic that I need to talk about, and a lot of people out there who are talking about the trailer are talking about how, you know, they got Christian Bale and Joel Edgerton, two of the best working actors today. Christian Bale actually is an Academy Award winner, and they didn't even attempt to make them look Egyptian or make them look as though they fit in that time. And I have to disagree with that. First off, I do think that Joel Edgerton does look like Ramses. He actually is very reminiscent of Yul Brynner, the actor who played him in Ten Commandments, and that's actually what I'm basing this whole the mini rant, as it were, on. The whitewashing of actors. Now, normally I am a defender of that topic, about especially when it comes to movies like Lone Ranger or the upcoming Peter Pan movie, where they cast oh, what is her name? She was in Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, not the Swedish version, the North American. I can't remember her name. I can see her face, but she was just cast as Tiger Lily, who's one of the most famous female Native American characters out there, if not one of the only ones in pop culture. And then you have Tonto, who is probably the most recognizable Native American character in pop culture. Both of them cast white actors. That I can understand. When it comes to a tale like this, where this, and I'm probably going to catch fire for some of these comments, but this is essentially a tale of mythology. This is based on a biblical story, which is not necessarily fact, although certain elements are probably taken from fact, and then they've just made them a little bit, they've embellished a little bit more. It's a tale, it's a story. And to be able to bring that to life, I mean, look at one of the most beloved historical biblical tales of all time, the Ten Commandments. The two main actors in that, Charlton Heston as Moses, a white guy, the guy who ran the gun club, or the National Rifle Association, and Yul Brynner as an Egyptian pharaoh. Like, I mean, this is one of the most beloved movies out there, and those two are always going to be recognized for playing those roles. So I don't see why that should really come in conflict with these roles, because these are not historical figures. These are based on biblical tales, and there's a very distinct difference between that, and people really need to start realizing that, because it's really going to detract from your entertainment or enjoyment of the film if you're just going to go to it and say, well, they're not Egyptian. Okay, so I don't see how that's affecting the storyline. Especially when it comes to someone like Moses, because Moses was washed down the river. Like, he was put in the basket and sent down the river. So, I mean, they could spin it and say, well, he came from England, or he came from Wales. If they really, really wanted to. It's a biblical tale. They can take liberties with it if they want to, because the original story took liberties. So that's one of the big issues that I do have with a lot of the comments that are going out about this trailer. That's so far one of the only negatives about the trailer. The one thing, this is a teaser, and this is actually more than I expected us to get in a teaser. We do get a sense of the story, that it is going to be more so about their relationship and how it crumbles and how they are now against one another, or at least Ramses is against Moses. But it's a teaser in the full sense of the word, because outside of that, we don't know anything else about the movie. We got some really nice shots, but it doesn't come out till December. So, I mean, it's still several months away, which means the visual effects shots are still not done. So, I mean, we still got lots of time. There's going to be another trailer released. If it's coming out in December, the final trailer will probably be sometime in October, which is not that far away. And I know that sucks to say it, because we're now almost in the middle of July. August, September, October, 3 months. And then we'll get that. 5 months away from December. That's scary. I don't want the cold to get here. But anyway, the movie opens December 5th. I have a link for the trailer in the description of the video below. So if you have not seen it yet, definitely click on it, because it even just as a trailer, it's wonderful to look at, because it's beautiful. The music plays really well. Like, everything about the trailer is done very, very well. And I'm a stickler for trailers. I really like how they are done. But when we get more information about this topic, I'll definitely update you guys on here. All right, and for our next topic, it looks as though Dwayne Johnson is going to be getting involved in the Bourne franchise in a way. Robert Ludlum wrote several stories outside of the Bourne franchise, and one of them was called the Jansen Directive. And the Jansen Directive is currently the vehicle that Universal is trying to get Dwayne Johnson to star in. The one thing that, as soon as I read that, I went, oh my god, we're going to get the Bourne versus Rock. Or the Rock versus Bourne, which I think would be really cool. I think that would be, I mean, The Rock in anything is awesome. I mean, he's already proven that. He went into the Journey franchise, and he made the second one a little bit better, because I did end up seeing it. He made it more enjoyable. He reinvigorated life into the Fast and Furious franchise with Fast 5. Well, I mean, it wasn't just him, it was that whole movie in general, but he really added a lot to it. yeah, I mean, he's his G.I. Joe. He went and revigorated that one a little bit. I mean, it didn't do all that much better than the first one. Actually, I don't even know if it did better than the first one. I think it probably about tied it. But anyway, he's looking to join the Janssen Directive. And the Janssen Directive basically revolves around this covert ops agent who he's uncomfortable with the amount of assassinations and sanctioned hits that he's been sent his way. So he then gets out of that agency and goes into private security and teams up with a sharpshooter who is the only person who he really trusts to take on. He's now also one of the most in-demand people in this industry. And with him and his partner, they get to choose essentially the different missions that they go on. But one of the missions that they choose actually ends up going south, and it was on purpose from the people who actually hired them. So he then has to go and try to figure out this conspiracy before essentially time runs out. It's one of the better reviewed Ludlum books, which means that the Rock is probably looking at this and saying, hey, you know what, if Bourne was really good and they were really tight films, then this one will probably be in the same vein. And I think he's looking for a franchise like that. I think he's looking to get out of the big Machimozo action star role where he just spreads one-liners. I know he's having a blast and he's doing a great job with them, but I think that he is trying to branch out a little bit more, even though he's kind of now known for his action roles. I think he is really trying to diversify the types of action roles that he does. He's not trying to get into the situation where Bruce Willis or Arnold Schwarzenegger got into, although he really doesn't have a lot of choice with that. But this sounds very interesting because it's another potential franchise for Universal. And Universal is one of the companies out there that doesn't really have a lot of franchise potential properties outside of Bourne and Jurassic Park. Those are really the only two that they have. They don't have any comic book characters outside of Namor. And with them owning Namor, not Marvel, I doubt that they're ever going to get into a situation where Namor can join in with Marvel's Avengers and Universal just kind of takes a cut, but then Universal goes and makes their own standalone film, because then they'd have to adhere to whatever Marvel is doing with their universe, because those two movies are connected now. So this is a very smart decision on Universal's part to definitely look at something like this. And the fact that it is from the writer of the Bourne franchise will, I think, bring in a lot more people, but they're really going to have to diversify this. They're not going to have to make it like Bourne, but keep it feeling that way. And I don't know if I'm expressing that the way that I'm intending to. Hopefully some of you understand at least what I'm trying to get at with this. And we won't ever get a crossover. I can guarantee that. As much as you would like to and as much as I would like to, my initial thought, like I said, when reading this news was Bourne versus The Rock. But we'll never get that. It's hard enough for them to do Aaron Cross versus Bourne, which they're supposedly doing for Bourne 5, if Latino Review is correct on that. But yeah, Dwayne Johnson getting in on a new franchise. I mean, the guy's getting super busy. He's involved in so many different projects that he keeps very busy, and that's something that's really good for an actor like him, because he's always going to be getting better. He's always going to be improving that craft, and that's going to diversify him and allow him to get other roles that people aren't necessarily going to associate him with, which is really exciting for someone like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because, what was it, 10 years ago, he was the Scorpion King. And that was it. I think actually 10 years ago this year, he had the Rundown release, and that was his first kind of breakout role where he got away. Actually, sorry, no, that was 2003. 2004, I think, had Be Cool. Which was where he played a gay cowboy, which was kind of funny. But anyway, I'm digressing. There's no current time frame at all for this project. They don't know when production would start. He's not even signed on officially yet, but they are really heavily looking for him. I think this is a right move for him, because I think it'll move his career in the right way. But again, that's just me, and that's just speculating. So when we get more information about this film, I will definitely update you guys on here. All right, and so our next topic here, we have Marvel actually unveiled a 17-minute preview in IMAX of Guardians of the Galaxy over the weekend. Actually, it was just a couple of days ago. I think it was Sunday night. And along with that, they released an extended trailer. Now, unfortunately, in my area, and I looked heavily, the closest one was going to be Ottawa, which was about a 2-hour drive, and I was not going to make that for 17 minutes of a movie I was going to see in a couple of weeks. But anyway, they did not have the 17-minute preview in my area, so I was unfortunately not able to see it. But I did read reactions and stuff like that as to the footage, and it was more than exceptional, which was really great to hear. But I did get to check out the extended trailer, and I've actually put a link to the trailer in the description of the video below if you guys definitely want to check it out. And this trailer had me grinning ear to ear, mainly because it's filled with interactions. It's not filled with money shots. It's not filled with, cool action beats and stuff like that. Even though it does have them, it's mainly about the interactions with the characters, especially that conversation they have at the end, which I thought was really funny. It introduces a lot of things that people are not going to be familiar with the movie, such as the fact that Groot only says "I am Groot," but could say several different things or mean several different things with that, because he's talking about how like they're all chatting around and they go, "I have a plan." He goes, "You have a plan." He goes, "I have part of a plan." And Drax goes, "What percentage do you have?" "About 12%. And Rocket starts laughing. They have their little back and forth, and Groot just goes to Rocket. He goes, "I am Groot." And Rocket goes, "I know 12. I know 12 is better than 11%, but that's still not the point." And even though you just said "I am Groot," Rocket was able to understand him, and Rocket is going to be that gateway to everybody else. But then you see Groot just start eating one of the plants that's on his arms, and everybody's like, "Oh," just walk away. Like, it just looks great. It looks like it's going to be a blast. Rocket looks absolutely hilarious, and from the get-go, they said that Rocket is going to steal the show. Um, so I think that he's definitely going to be the steal of the movie. Groot's probably going to be a very close second, and that's again what I've been hearing from the footage that was released and even early word on the film. We know that it is completed. James Gunn actually tweeted out the other day and said that it is wrapped. All the special effects are done, the music's done, sound effects are done, the ADR is done, everything. All of it is finished. So this movie is opening up in about 3 weeks. And I am very, very excited. Is it 3 weeks? Yeah, it'd be just over 3 weeks. I'm very, very excited for this. I think this is turned around and is no longer part of a risk for Marvel. I think this is really going to hit it out of the park just because of how they've been marketing it. Right now, the only risk that I'm seeing is Ant-Man, just because even though not a lot of people who go to these movies, excuse me, not a lot of people who go to the movies are reading up on the behind the scenes of what's going on, so they are unaware as to the drama that's going on behind the scenes with Ant-Man. Um, it's about a guy who can shrink down and talk to ants. And even though it's going to be a comedy and it's going to be associated with Marvel, it's still going to have a really difficult time. Now, again, I was saying that about Guardians of the Galaxy, and this now may change mainly due to the fact that Guardians now looks unbelievable, and word of mouth from this project is huge. They're now really hammering that it is part of Marvel, that it is going to be connected. We have heard certain things, like minor spoiler, but I've talked about this already on the show, that in that lineup sequence in Guardians of the Galaxy, when they're talking to each one of the characters, when they get to Gamora, they do say "daughter of the Mad Titan Thanos." So we already know that we're getting Thanos in the movie, but they are keeping that connection as well. So there's a lot of really intriguing things about this footage, but one of the most standout parts, when I was watching it, I was like, okay, yeah, little bits of new footage. I don't want to see too much, but I do think that very carefully they have been concealing a lot of the film from us. And I don't think that we're going to go in, even though seeing a lot of this footage, I don't think we're going to be able to go into the movie and pick apart how the movie is going to play out. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. But we get our first look at Michael Rooker as Yondu in this film. And Yondu has been, I mean, he was in the original teaser trailer, and they even showed he was, known associates Yondu, and they even showed that with Peter Quill. But Yondu was one of the original members of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comic books. And in the movie, he's going to be more so a father figure to Peter Quill. As far as I'm aware, he's actually the one who kidnaps him, who beams him up in his ship that we saw in the other trailer, and really, he becomes a father to him. He takes care of him. He looks after him. He trains him. He raises him, and they're the whole crux of how the storyline gets going, because they both plan to steal this orb, the epitomous orb, as it were, the MacGuffin, or as it were. The orb is what everyone is after. I'm assuming it's going to be one of the Infinity Stones. But the fact that we got to see him, and I'll throw up a picture here of what he looks like, and it's pure Michael Rooker. I mean, the one thing too, the fin on top of his head is very small, the little mohawk that he has. A lot of people are speculating online that's actually going to open up. That's because it's mechanical, it looks metal, that it's actually going to go and open up and maybe be part of his battle cry or something. I don't really know, and I hope that they don't do that. because I like the fact that they didn't go super punk rock. Um, and that again, that's just me. That is just me. It's my opinion. I'm not saying that that's the way that it's going to go. But I felt that this trailer was just awesome, and the first look that we got at Yondu was even better. Knowing that he's going to be a larger part of the film is really good too. Although I have a sneaking suspicion about the way that they talked about it, that he's actually going to be killed. And I just have a feeling. I don't have anything to base that on whatsoever. I just have that feeling that that's what's going to be the case. I hope I'm wrong because I really like Michael Rooker. I loved him on Walking Dead. You know, he's even in one of my favorite films of all time. He's in JFK. So so yeah, I mean, I love the trailer. I got a link in the description of the video below for the trailer if you haven't seen it yet. If you don't want to see it, I don't blame you, because it does give a few more scenes from the movie that we haven't seen before, a little bit more backstory into some of the characters. But I feel that this is a very smart decision on Marvel's part to get the people who don't know about these characters involved with them. And so Guardians of the Galaxy is opening up in a few weeks. That will definitely be a review. And make sure you guys actually check back on Friday's episode as well, because I will be reviewing Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which I'm very excited for. I'm going to see it tomorrow night. I've heard nothing but amazing things about that film as well, so definitely check back. And if you aren't planning on going to see it, or you do have some time available on the weekend, go and see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I can already tell you, even though I have not seen it, I can already tell you that you are going to enjoy it. But getting back to Guardians of the Galaxy, once the review comes out or we get any little bit more tidbits about the film, I will definitely update you guys on here. Alright, and the final topic that we have to talk about today is Warner Brothers actually surprised a few people yesterday when they announced what their official lineup. Now again, this is just a pre-release lineup for Comic-Con, but it's showcasing what projects they are going to be talking about. So the three main topics, or three main projects that they're going to be talking about are The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies, and then they have Mad Max Fury Road, and then they have Jupiter Ascending. Those are the three main topics that they have. They're also apparently going to be screaming Into the Storm on the Wednesday night, which I really want to see that movie. I think it looks great. I think it looks like Twister nowadays. But there's a glaring omission from this lineup, and that is anything DC related. Now, they could shock everybody and have the last 50... this is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the last 15 minutes or so, maybe the last 10 minutes of their panel, of Warner Brothers panel, Zack Snyder is going to come out, or Ben Affleck is going to come out unannounced. They're not going to say, now we have a special guest, and he comes out. He's just going to come out and go like, you know, hey, you guys forgot something, or, you know, have this big show, big, amazing show. Because they did that last year. They didn't announce that Zack Snyder was going to be there, and he showed up to announce Batman v Superman. And I think that's going to happen again this year, but I think Ben Affleck's going to come out and going to say, like, you know, Warner Brothers wouldn't be anything without Batman or Superman or Aquaman, and then Jason Momoa comes out, or Wonder Woman, and Gal Gadot comes out, or Cyborg, and Ray Fisher comes out, and, you know, or then they say in Green Lantern, and Ryan Reynolds walks out. You know, that would be insane if they did that, if they were keeping the continuity of that film, which I think would be a mistake, but they can still do it. They can still work around it, because people can just say, like, what was that big poop cloud in the sky? And they'll go, oh, it was nothing, and then just shrug it off and just say it never happened. I think that would be a huge surprise if they did something like that. But I do have a feeling that the last 10 to 15 minutes of their panel, of Warner Brothers panel, is going to be devoted to DC, even though they have come out and said that Batman vs. Superman is not going. It may not be Batman vs. Superman. It may be DC and unleashing their lineup, which has been rumored. If they don't do that, I will be shocked if they don't. Because, to my knowledge, there's no other major convention that Warner Brothers could do this massive announcement and get the word out as big as they could at Comic-Con. Because Comic-Con is now a world event. Like, well, it has been for a while, but more so, especially after the last few years, Comic-Con has become a massive unveiling for studios. Like, that's where Marvel first announced their Marvel. I mean, it made sense because it was Comic-Con, but where Marvel first announced their Phase 1 lineup, and then they announced the remainder of Phase 1. They announced Phase 2. They announced what Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be, or what Avengers Age of Ultron was going to be. I have a feeling this year they're going to announce Phase 3. We're going to understand at least what the context of the lineup is going to be. We only know 2 films so far in Phase 3, and that's Ant-Man and Ant-Man and Captain America 3. Almost certain that Thor 3 and Doctor Strange are going to be in there as well, because they've already hired a director for Doctor Strange and they've hired writers for Thor 3. So we're pretty sure that that's going to be the case. I'm assuming we're going to get one more date as well. They're going to announce 2 more dates, actually. They're going to announce a second date in 2017 and then Avengers 3 for 2018. That's at least my assumption, because it doesn't make sense for Marvel to go backwards and only release 1 film in a year. But the glaring omission of anything DC related is really surprising to me, unless it is meant to be a surprise, meant to shock people for them to win Comic-Con again this year. I really don't know exactly what their plans are, but I would be willing to bet money on the fact that we are going to get a DC announcement at the end of the Warner Brothers panel in Hall H during Comic-Con. I have a feeling they're going to announce the Justice League lineup, who's actually in it, and I have a feeling we're going to get a couple of other projects announced. What would really surprise me is if they we're doing Justice League, Wonder Woman, and Batman. That would really shock me. If they came out and said that the exact lineup that Nikki Fink had, except for, I think the one that you can get rid of is Sandman, out of all of them. Have that be its own universe, because that's a type of movie that I don't think fits into a DC cinematic universe with someone like Superman or Batman or Green Lantern or Flash. But yeah, I mean, I would be willing to bet that we're going to get a DC announcement at Comic-Con. We won't know until it happens. I would be shocked if they didn't, but that, again, that's just me. And knowing DC in the past, that's one of the reasons why I'd be shocked, because in the past, they've always shown fear. They've always shown that they're scared to push the button and to move forward on a project. Very recently, at least through leaked reports, it's been showing that they are not as scared anymore. For them to come to Comic-Con and say, oh, and by the way, boom, here's the next 5 years of movies, that would be insane. They would definitely win Comic-Con. And I hope that's what we get. But we're not going to know for another couple of weeks. But when we do get updates on this, and I will be, when it comes to the week of Comic-Con, I'm actually going to be in Los Angeles that whole week. So I'm going to be putting up some raw episodes. There's not going to be editing. You're not going to see the backdrop behind me. You're not going to see the intro video or the outro video, anything like that. It's just going to be raw videos, because I'm not going to be, unfortunately, able to take my computer with me. But I will be putting up videos almost every day that I'm in Los Angeles with Comic-Con. So I'm not going to be there for Comic-Con. I'm going to be doing studio tours and stuff like that. But yeah, any news or anything like that that's sent out about Comic-Con, I will be doing almost a daily video. Maybe we'll miss a day here and there, but on the major days, like on the Marvel panel, the Warner Brothers panel, I'm definitely going to be keeping a close eye on. And some of the other panels are pretty intriguing to me. So I'm going to be keeping close eyes on those and doing immediate videos after those are wrapped. But for the most part, I will be doing at least one video every day during that week, starting on the 24th. No, 23rd. I'll double check. It's the Wednesday that it starts. Whatever the Wednesday is, I think it's the 23rd. I will be doing a daily video after that, for the most part. But yeah, I'm very excited about Comic-Con. I'm very excited to hear about some of the announcements that we're going to be getting, some of the projects we're going to be hearing about, maybe some things that are going to be announced. We do know there's going to be some screenings there too, so to get early word about these films. Like a couple of years ago, they did an early screening of Dread, and it was universally loved. It just sucked that it didn't make enough money in the box office. It looks like Into the Storm is getting some good buzz on it as well, because they're going to be premiering that as on the premiere night. So if that happens to be good, I already am looking forward to it, because I think it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, Comic-Con's coming up. I'm very excited, especially about some of the news that's going to be announced. But I'm digressing. So yeah, when we get more information about whether or not DC is actually going to be showing up, or if it is just going to be a surprise, I'll definitely update you guys on here. Alright, well that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. You can go ahead and click subscribe there in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever we post a new video. You can follow us on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, to get updates on all your movie information. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Movie News with Niklsun. You can start a discussion on there, or just like the page and just post any sort of updates or questions that you may have, and we'll go back and forth on there. I absolutely love interacting with people about films. But most importantly, you can find us on our website at movienewswithniklsun.ca. And on that website, under the contact section, you can submit any questions or topics that you have that you would like to have answered on the show, and we'll talk about them on every Friday episode along with a major review. So without any further ado, this has been Niklsun. You guys have been great, and you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.